Hey everyone, my name is Michael and this is my LASIK experience. Now this video is going to be in excruciating detail, so if you're not comfortable hearing what happens during LASIK in terms of the medical side of things, I recommend you find another video, but with it being my interest in medicine and I got the procedure done, this video is going to be pretty in-depth. So that's your forewarning, and then we'll hop straight into this video, and I'm excited to be bringing you guys this. So why did I get LASIK? I got LASIK because my left eye prescription was negative 4.75 and my right eye was negative 3.75. Now that's not a huge prescription by any means. I heard of people that are negative 7, negative 11, negative 12 in the eyes, and those are high prescriptions, even legally blind at some cases in there. So my case wasn't severe, but it was noticeable enough that I had to wear glasses, of course. And glasses for me, I've worn for 16 plus years, and I always had to have the little nose piece glasses because otherwise they just slide down my face. And I hate having to push my glasses up. I like having them just stick. But as a consequence of having glasses with nose pieces, they end up pinching kind of often, and that would give me headaches and discomfort, and they always get bumped. Even into adulthood, my glasses always somehow manage to get bumped by something or someone or an animal. So I got tired of that as well. So I got LASIK for the convenience of not having to wear glasses. And I've never worn contacts a day in my life. So that was another challenge going into this procedure. Now that's another thing, is going into the procedure, I was terrified. Even at my consultation, which my consultation was 4 weeks prior to my operation. And at the consultation, I met one of the ODs, so he didn't perform my surgery, but he worked closely with the MD that did do my surgery, and we got to do some scans. So the first thing at my consultation, which is a free appointment, as it should be at least, I went in there, they do a whole bunch of scans. They do scans to check out the surface of the cornea, see the shape of the cornea. They'll do other scans where they like do stuff to your eyelid and look at things, and I don't really know why, but they did all that stuff. They checked your prescription again. They'll do, of course, the 1, 2 are about the same thing about 600 times. So we did all of that stuff at the consultation, and that was all great. And then at the consultation, they recommended that I do the smile procedure. And unfortunately for me, having not done contacts, the smile procedure wasn't something I was willing to do. There is a lot of manipulation of the cornea and that little free-floating piece of tissue that they have to remove in the smile procedure that I wasn't comfortable doing. There's just a lot, and I don't know if I could have done it because I got myself worked up anyway about doing LASIK, which is a lot less manipulation on that front. So after my consultation, they recommended that to me. I didn't have much of a say there because I didn't know what they wanted to do particularly. So I looked up smile. I did watch the procedure because if I'm going to have it done, I need to know what's going to be happening. And yeah, it was a disqualifier for me. Another advantage for LASIK for me was that it's been FDA approved for a longer amount of time. I think Smile's only been approved for 5-ish years, whereas LASIK has been approved for many, many, many more years by the FDA, so we know longer term effects, which is always a hot button topic, right? So after my consultation, which I recommend if you have questions, bring them to your consultation. Again, it's a free appointment, but get your money's worth out of it, right? Bring a whole list of questions if you have them, and ask them, fire them away. I think that's the best way to head into that consultation. So I was comfortable after that scheduling the pre-op, and the pre-op was a week before my procedure, which was on, look at this, I can see my calendar across the room, how great, which was on February 4th. And I'm recording today on February 20th. Sorry for the delay. I tried to record last week, but I had an issue. Nothing about the eyes or anything. It was a camera issue. So yeah, I had the procedure on the 4th, which means my pre-op was on the week prior. So between the consultation and the pre-op, for 2 weeks, you are to use what they call preservative-free artificial tears. Now I have the ones that I've been using. This is not a product promotion. It seems like it, but Sustain makes these guys, and these are original preservative-free drops. They recommend the preservative-free before your procedure. So for 2 weeks, 4 times a day, they want you to be using these. And that just gives your eyes plenty of moisture for your actual pre-op appointment when they're going to dilate the eye and get a way better look at things and just make sure that they're on it. These are expensive. Preservative drops are less expensive, but these guys are pretty expensive. Apparently there's good pros to doing preservative-free. It's like washing your hands over and over. If you use preservatives, you kind of end up drying out the eye, which is counterintuitive. I hear that's not the case with preservative-free. That's just what I've learned so far. So I scheduled the pre-op. That is when I met my surgeon, Dr. Smith. And Dr. Randall Smith did my operation. He did a wonderful job so far. I've got no complaints. And Dr. Smith, I met him at that pre-op, of course, which is a week before your operation. We did more scans, and we did this scan that was really psychedelic, where you look into the middle of a circle, a black circle, and there's like red concentric rings around it, and it was really trippy. But I'm told that that one is the one that kind of teaches the algorithm how to track your eye, and we'll talk about that more when we get into the actual surgery day. So that was really cool. We did the kind of the same scans, but some new ones as well. Met the doctor. We did a dilated look at the retina and checked out everything there. He, of course, did the prescription thing again. We did see that my prescription was a little bit different from the 475375. And he mentioned that it's because I'm kind of younger. At the time of my operation, I was 22 years old. That I have a higher focusing power with my lens. I'm just able to change the shape of it much better than older people. And again, we'll talk about that a little bit later on in terms of some questions at the end. So we did the dilated at the pre-op, the check for glaucoma, which means I have to touch your eye, which I hate. And the tech lady was going in to do the glaucoma, and she had to like pry my eyes open because stuff coming out my eye freaks me out. That's why I've never done contacts. We did fluorescein, which is where they touch a little bit of fluorescein dye to the side of your eye and then use a blue light to check for, I believe it's to check for damage to the cornea. Don't quote me on that one. I'm not positive. And then surgery was a week later. So it was really easy. I just met Dr. Smith. He was kind of quick in and out of the room. But at that pre-op, the tech, Rachel, I don't know if they're MAs or what they call themselves there. Different places will call themselves different things, so I don't want to offend anyone. But she ran me through the whole procedure. Now, I have watched many videos on the procedure, from the actual operation to other videos of people's experience. And what I want to do is give that in the detail that I wanted to hear. I noticed a lot of videos kind of glanced off details that I want to know. So that's why it may be disturbing to some people. I don't think it should be, but if it is, I apologize. You were warned. All right, so we did the pre-op, met everyone. Surgery is a week later. Continue those sustained drops. And then I think they call her a financial counselor. She did two things for me. One, she handed me this. So this is a nice little sheet. It doesn't have personal information on it or anything, but this little sheet has the antibiotic drop that we'll talk about in a second, 4 times a day for 7 days, and also has those artificial tears 4 times a day for 7 days after the procedure. Now, I don't think this has any personal information on it that I can flash and get in trouble with. I don't know. If I do, it'll be blurred, but they'll hand you this at the pre-op, and that's great because then you have it ready to go. So I got that at the pre-op, and then the next thing that was ordered for me at the pre-op, which I had to go pick up on my own, was this beautiful antibiotic suspension. So this is an antibiotic mixed with a steroid, which helps fight inflammation and healing in the eye. So this is what you have to use 4 times a day, or anyone has to use that takes this, 4 times a day for 7 days after your procedure. Now this is prescribed through an online pharmacy, which you have to pay them online. Now this other side has my address and personal information, and I don't want any of you mailing me anthrax. So I cannot show you that side, but the bottle was shown there. If I remember, I might grab some other shots of it so you can see that as well. The other thing that my financial counselor ordered for me was some Xanax. So you get 0.5 milligram of Xanax, And again, we'll talk about this in just a little bit. Sorry, a lot of teasers, but it's worth it, I promise. So the Xanax was prescribed to me. They asked specifically that I brought in the antibiotic steroid drop, as well as the Xanax to my appointment, just so they could confirm that I got the right thing and that I actually even got it. So I did that, and I was super nervous the day of my procedure. Of course, I don't wear contacts. If you wear contacts, I think you have to not wear contacts 3 days prior to your procedure. I can't speak. But since I don't wear contacts, I was fine. You just wear your glasses as normal. So I was super nervous about the procedure, and why. Why was because I wasn't nervous about pain. I know that the procedure is relatively painless, if not painless completely, but I was more nervous about looking away or ruining my procedure in the middle of it, or freaking out and having not a panic attack, but being really anxious and worried about it. Now, I come to find out that was kind of unnecessary, because for multiple reasons, including, so when I got there to my appointment was at 10:30. That's when it was slated, at least. I got there at 10, which is what they ask. They ask that you get there half an hour early. Now, my mom was my driver, so she brought me, and we came to the waiting room. Now, the first order of business was I walked up to the front. I had a paper mask. It was kind of getting soggy, so I traded out my paper mask for their paper mask, which was new, so that was nice. It's good to have a fresh mask going into some life-changing procedure. So I got that, and the lady up front, the receptionist, handed me a name tag, had my name on it, and it said LASIK OU, I think. So that means LASIK both eyes. OS is your left eye, OD is your right eye, for whatever it may matter to you. Fun tidbit. So we got the name tag on. She asked me if I got the Xanax. I did, and it was in pill form, so I had the bottle. I took it, and I knocked that back. So it felt like I was waiting quite a bit in the waiting room. Of course, I waited the 30 minutes from 10 to 10:30, but I also waited maybe 6-7 minutes after. On surgery days, it sounds like they're pretty busy, and they're constantly bringing people back and working through that. So that's why it kind of fell behind schedule. But sooner than later, this lady named Karen, very kind lady, brought me back, and she asked me, "Are you ready to get rid of your glasses?" And I was such a nervous wreck that I pulled a politician's move, and I evaded the question. I just said, "Oh boy, this is going to be fun." I didn't say yes, and I didn't say no. I just said, "Oh boy, this is going to be fun." Because I was, again, a tremendous nervous wreck going into this. So Karen brought me back to the prep room, and back there I brought this my little drops, and let me make sure I place that the correct way. I had my glasses case as well, and I'm trying to remember what else I had. I did have my phone and my wallet in my pocket. She asked that she could take those back to be with me after the procedure so they don't fall out of my pocket when I'm laying down on the table. So I gave her my glasses, put them in the case. She took them, and then she slipped some little booties over my shoes, both left and right, and she put on a beautiful blue hairnet on me, which was awesome. Of course, since we're in a pandemic doing this, I don't know if they usually let people go back with you, but I have no photos of this, which stinks. I know, I wanted a photo of me with the beautiful bonnet, but that didn't happen. So she sat me down in the massage chair, which is in a room that has a sliding door, and it's very dark in there. So she sat me down in there, started the massage chair. It only worked on the lower half of my body, so I got an amazing, amazing thigh and calf massage for, for a good amount of time. As I was sitting there, she put some stickers on my forehead that I don't know what they said, or if they had any saying, or if they were just color and had happy faces. But she put stickers on my head, I think just to confirm again that they're doing 2 eyes. Of course, when you're doing surgery, you gotta be diligent about what you're doing and make sure that you know that you're doing what you're doing when you're doing it. So aside from that, this light is starting to be annoying. I might have to do something about that. But aside from that, then she went in with some betadine and just cleaned around my eyes. I saw some videos that looks like a really bad spray tan, which is hilarious. So she did that, cleaned up the area, and I think she wiped it off. And then she said, "All right, bye," and left me in that massage chair. So stickers on the head, hairnet, and booties over my shoes. She left me. And I just sat in that room for, it felt like a long time, quite honestly. Maybe half an hour. I don't know. When you don't have a phone or anything to check time with, and you're just in there, it seems like a lot longer than it probably was. I don't know how long it was. Okay, I adjusted the window, but it hardly helped because it's not actually coming through the window. It's coming through like part of the blinds. Sorry, that's gonna have to stay, unfortunately. I didn't plan well enough to accommodate for that. All right, so as I was in the massage chair, this is where it gets great. So I'm kind of a lightweight, I guess, in the fact that I've never been drunk a second in my life. I've never done drugs. I've never smoked anything. I've never, ingested anything that would make me feel different as a human. So when I took the 0.5 milligram of Xanax, it felt like it took a long time to kick in. In the waiting room, I don't even think it kicked in that half hour. Yeah, it felt like it was closer to the 50 minutes when I was in that room for maybe a good 10 minutes that it started to feel. And stuff started becoming really funny to me, and I don't know why, but just sitting there, I was noticing that I would laugh at the end of thoughts in my head. I would giggle, and it was weird, and I hope no one walked by and heard it because it was really strange. And then even worse was I started hallucinating. This is so bad. A little bit. I started hallucinating a little bit, where I was seeing like tessellated hexagons, vertically tessellated, of course, like in OChem, how you draw them, not sideways like you think of a hexagon. And they were tessellated in like purple and blue tones. It kind of looks like that Rocket League map that has them, but again, they're horizontal in that one, not vertically tessellated. It was strange. I was seeing colors. At least I wasn't smelling colors, but I was seeing colors and I was laughing at my own thoughts. So right after that, and again, that wait was pretty long for me. Rachel, who did my pre-op in the consultation, she came back, got me, hit me with some drops, numbing drops, and she joked that, wow, those were a lot easier than at the pre-op, huh? And I laughed, of course, because, yeah, at the pre-op, I hate drops. Again, this stuff was hard for me because I hate drops and thinking of stuff coming into my eyes for sure. So right after she hit me with drops, she had me follow her into the room. Of course, you don't have glasses on, so this is all blurry. Right in the operation room, the operating room was kind of circular, which is neat. It's very dark. There are blue LEDs in the ceiling, so everything's in a blue tone and it's dark. Immediately to the left was the slit scope where Dr. Smith said hi to me. He mentioned that the patient before me was really nervous. Sorry for the wait. So that explains why I felt like I was waiting a while. The patient before me, it sounds like she struggled a little bit, unfortunately, with the procedure. And I think that's kind of normal. It's a lot to go through at one time. If you do contacts, I'm assuming it's a lot easier because you're used to having this stuff near and around your face. So Dr. Smith looked at everything, and then his laser technician, I think that's what they call him, I don't know what he is exactly, but he introduced himself to me. His name was Chris. He was awesome. And he said, hey, my name is Chris. He's a big guy. And he sat me down on the bed. And at the first bed, he asked me to recite my name and my date of birth for the text in the corner. And I did. So I gave him my name and date of birth. And he said, great, let's lay back. So we laid me back. I noticed someone, I don't know who, slipped some tissues on the side of my head because the drops are going to be going to the side of your head and you aren't to be rubbing your eyes or anything. So they laid me down, put the tissues on the side of my face, and then it all started. So we started with my right eye, and maybe this is just how Dr. Smith does it, is always on the right eye. But he leaned me back, of course. I'm laying down looking face up, and with my left eye taped closed, and it's not uncomfortable with the tape or anything. It actually is really comfortable. It's like one of those sleeping masks that people wear to block out light, but it also feels like a little hug on your face. He laid me back and got me taped up. And what I saw was a circle of white LEDs, and in the middle was a green fixation light. Now, when you don't have your lenses, your glasses on or anything, it just looks like a fuzzy green light. But eventually he'll raise up the table. He raised up the table, and there was contact between my eye and the glass of this thing. And then at that point, that fixation light becomes a single point. And what I heard was suction on, which was hilarious because someone programmed a robot to mention that there was suction when your eye touches this thing. And you'd feel not like in the eye, but around the eye. I felt kind of like a little bit of a lift. And it wasn't like that, like, it was just kind of a, a little kiss on my eye, which was awesome, by the way. I love getting kisses in the eye. So they did that, touched my eye to it, and then this is where they start cutting the flap. So what I saw was that the blackness and the dot slowly became less black, like more grayish, whitish, milky tones, and the dot was still there. The dot was, for me, pretty easy to focus on through the end. It got harder at the end, but it wasn't, like solving a arithmetic equation or anything. It was easy to find. So we finished up the right eye. I got lowered down, and that was the flap cut for the right eye. Now, Dr. Smith, for the left eye, he reminded me to keep my chin up. For some reason, I kept tucking my chin. Maybe that's just how I am. But also, we had to do the lid speculum again on the left eye. And I forgot to mention that on the right eye. They have to do a lid speculum to keep that eye open so you don't blink. On the left eye, he said, keep the eyebrow raised and relax right here. That's what he did, is he tapped right here. And I'm like, that's a lot to think about because I didn't know what he wanted. I was on Xanax. I was feeling loopy. And he goes, yeah, well, if that's a lot to think about, I'm worried for you in the future. So he was joking with me and we had a good time. And after he cut the left eye's flap, which is the same deal, same kind of, you see the darkness kind of start becoming more white, more milky, more cloudy, and that green light gets a little bit harder to see. So right after that, he lowered me down, and I mentioned to him, okay, Dr. Smith, that was kind of cool. And he joked back saying, yeah, kind of cool is the best I get around here. So yeah, we had a good time in my procedure of nerves, where he was joking that that's the best he gets. So I sat up. I took a second to breathe. I've heard that people feel sick after they sit up for this first time off this first table. Maybe it's just like a subconscious thing that their brain is thinking about what just happened, or I don't know what it is. So I just took some time to breathe. I was feeling fine. Chris reminds you to breathe throughout the procedure. So that was all good. And then I walked over to the other table. So right when I sat up and opened my eyes, it is blurry. It is cloudy. It is milky almost. And Chris was pointing out the step that was there that I had to take down off the table to the other table. And it's harder to see, but the room is dark anyway, so you hardly even notice that the room is dark and that you can't see. But it's pretty cloudy. So Chris walked me over to the other table, and I sat down on it over there. So over there, it was the same deal. I laid back, got that lid speculum, which I hated so much. I fought it every time into the right eye. And then I was focused on the lights. And this time what the light was, I saw a green light with 2 red lights on the side. And these were huge blobs. These were like massive blobs compared to the other one. And of course, they're blobs because you can't see them very great. And at this point, Dr. Smith had me lean back and he started manipulating the flap. And this is where they start lifting the flap. And I knew that because I watched a dozen procedures, online at least. And I knew that was coming. So he went in there and started moving it around, and he told me to stare at the green light. Now, this was really hard for me because the green light and the lights started moving as he moved the flap, obviously, because he's moving the tissue. So I was looking at the green light, and suddenly I wasn't looking at the green light. And I didn't know if I should have moved my eyes or not. I think I may have moved, but he said something like, keep looking at the green light, and kept reminding me to keep that chin up. So after Dr. Smith reflected the flap, and he mentioned that it was going to be really blurry, and, he was right, he knows a thing or two. When it got really blurry, he asked me if I could still see the green light. Now, in my infinite Xanax-induced wisdom, I nodded. I don't know why I nodded. I don't know what I was thinking. I wasn't thinking. I don't know why I didn't think I could speak. I don't know why I felt like I couldn't speak. I nodded. That's the biggest fail of my procedure yet. So I nodded. I went, and he goes, no, don't nod, just talk. And I don't know why I didn't talk, but I didn't say anything. I saw the light. I looked at the light with my right eye. And then what happened was he went ahead and started up the laser. And you hear a lot of like rat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat stuff for the laser. And I think my right eye was maybe about 5 seconds of lasering. And of course, the laser is UV, so you don't see the laser. What you're seeing are fixation lines, which are just to keep you looking at the right place. So I kept staring at the green light and let the laser do its work. And then as he came back and put the flap back down, I smelled a little bit of the smell that people talk about, and it's nothing to be afraid of. Of course, they're using UV energy to kill some of the cells just to thin it out. That way you can actually get that prescription that you wanted and desired. And it smells like if you've ever had a wound cauterized, or if you've been to the orthodontist and they've used that high-speed thing on your teeth. That's what it smells like. It doesn't smell terrible. And it lingered in my mask for a little bit because I think it got stuck. Some of my eye cells were stuck in my mask. There you go. So we did the right eye. He put down the flap, and they brush it with a little sponge, which looks like a beautiful paintbrush. So I got that done on the right eye. And as he was finishing up the right eye, I told him, hey, Dr. Smith, when you were doing that right eye, and he puts like a stamp on my right eye to keep the flap down or something, and I felt it, just the pressure around my eye. I felt my eye move, and he pushed it, and I was like, hey, Dr. Smith, when you put the... I didn't make that sound, but I definitely had that reaction in my gut. But my question was, Dr. Smith, when you did the right eye and you're manipulating the flap, I don't know where I'm supposed to look because everything starts moving. And then he just said, just keep staring forward. So that wasn't super helpful because forward moves. Forward looks like it's down here instead of up there when he's moving it around. So that was difficult for me. With the left eye, it's the same procedure. He went in there, did the lid speculum to open everything up, manipulated the flap, reflected the flap, lasered the left eye for a good 2 seconds longer. And there's hair from my dog on my arm. Hit the left eye a little bit longer, put down the flap, paintbrush, apparently did the stamp again, but this time it wasn't talking, so I didn't goof him again. And in the process of putting down the flap, he said, Michael, your left flap looks pretty good, but pretty good isn't good enough. And I just appreciated that so much. As a perfectionist to perfectionist, we were on the same page that the flap wasn't quite lined up the way that he wanted, so he said, we're not going to leave it that way. He went back with the sponge, got it set the way that he wanted. He did warn me that some drops were coming, and he said they're going to make the world look all sorts of different colors, and I was already seeing colors of tessellated hexagons, so it didn't matter to me. I was like, hit me with them. So he did a whole bunch of drops. I think there's antibiotic. I think there's one to fight redness. I think there's artificial tears maybe. There's just a whole concoction of drops that they give you. Chris sat me up. Dr. Smith was finished up. He walked me over across the hall. Oh, sorry, really quick. He dropped me off at the slit scope. At the slit scope, he just checked that everything looked great. Everything for me was really blurry still. Not quite milky anymore, but it was pretty blurry still. So we walked out to that first room, and in that first room was my mom and that financial counselor lady who I talked about earlier that kind of does like all the behind the scenes stuff that we don't get to see. Now in that back room, they sent me with a post-op bag, which unfortunately I left in the other room. I know, bad job me. But in there were these awesome sunglasses. So you need these because you're going to be photophobic for the first at least day. And they were recommended not using screens for that first 24 hours after my procedure. So I just put these on and walked to the car, and I went to sleep when I got home. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a second here. But the other thing in there were eye shields. Now, they gave them to me in a configuration like this, which, by the way, I have since learned is incorrect. I've learned that you want to get kind of the point of the egg, upward between the eyebrows, like this, which also, by the way, prevents you from getting in around them anywhere. Because when they're like this, I found that in the middle of the night, I was reaching through here to try to itch my eye, or through here, or through here. So they have to go vertically, which they didn't tell me. In fact, I'm not sure if they knew. I'm sure the doctors knew, but seeing as it was the financial lady, I don't think that she understood how they're supposed to go. So yeah, they need to go vertically, so for most protection of your eyeball there. So I waited in that room, talked a little bit. Dr. Smith told my mom I did great. And then we were ready to go. And we were in there. I think they just have you in there for maybe 5-10 minutes just to make sure that you're doing okay and that you haven't passed out or anything. So that was great. Put on the eye shields immediately, put the sunglasses on over the eye shields, and walked to the car. Again, really blurry still for me. I got to the car, closed my eyes, and my mom started driving home. And this is where the numbing drops started wearing off. My right eye started feeling like it was burning. It felt like I had eyelashes in my eye, kind of felt like shampoo or soap, body soap in the eye. It started burning. And this eye kept doing that until I got home. So, and it was enough that I didn't want to talk. And it wasn't, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to rip out my eyeballs. It was just more, okay, this is just uncomfortable and I need to take a Tylenol. So I got home, took a Tylenol, and I went to bed immediately. I came up here, and one thing I did was in my room, I put a blanket over my blinds on my window. Now, it wasn't perfect as a blackout curtain, but it knocked down the light that was coming into my room significantly that I could just sleep. So I slept until about 4:30-ish, and my post-op appointment was that day at 5. So got in the car, went straight back over there, and at that time, still seemed pretty blurry. It was getting better, but the way it looked was kind of like if you take your camera out to the beach and you take off the lens cap and it starts fogging up, like right in that first, second where it starts fogging up and you have halos around the lights and it's just not quite clear. That's how I'd explain how I was seeing. So at the post-op visit at 5 p.m., my left eye felt like almost foreign body sensation, that there was something in it. Of course, you're not to touch your eyes. So I showed up at my post-op, no eye shields, but with the sunglasses, as they recommended that I do. In there, Dr. Smith took a look at my eyes. He said that my right flap looked awesome. So I think that eye was just a little bit easier. But the left eye, he mentioned that there was a little bit of some secretions. I don't know what he said was coming out of it, but I think that left eye, obviously, it got hammered a little bit harder. Obviously, I felt that this one had that discomfort now. The right eye had that burning until I took the Tylenol, then it went away and stayed away ever since. The left eye had that foreign body sensation for maybe 2 or 3 days post-op. Blurry and foggy, left eye, a little bit of secretion stuff, felt a little bit strange. And then I went home. So that appointment wasn't super long. Dr. Smith was getting done with his day, so he just did that post-op, said hi, said bye. And then I was seeing 2015 at the post-op. It was really hard to see 2015. I had to squint pretty hard to try to see it. So I wouldn't say I was seeing 2015, but they say that the vision gets better with time, and I believe it, which we'll talk about here in the follow-up. So that first day, I went home, I did dinner, and then I slept until 9. And then I woke up at 9, and then I had a little snack, and I fell asleep from 10 to 7. So that Xanax, 10 p.m. to 7 a.m., that Xanax stayed in my body for a long time, it felt like. And overnight, what I noticed from that 10 to 7 was that my eyes felt a little bit itchy. And it's not tremendous. It's kind of like just a tiny itch, but that's what those eye shields are for. They're going to keep you from rubbing your eyes and manipulating that flap in a way that you shouldn't be doing. So the itchy eye stuff happened overnight. It wasn't terrible, though, and it only lasted a couple nights at most. And again, that left eye felt kind of gritty for 2 or 3 days, which was the most discomfort after the first day. And the right eye had been great ever since then. So I did my medicated drop 4 times a day, as you saw on that sheet that I threw on the ground, which I can't reach, otherwise I'll fall off the chair. So I did that medicated drop 4 times a day for 7 days, artificial tears 4 times a day for 7 days, and I've been continuing that as per Dr. Smith's recommendation. And then I did my 1 week, which was on the 11th. So that was, just over a week ago. And everything has been looking great. At my 1 week post-op, I was seeing, again, they said 2015, but I'm guessing when I'm seeing 2015 individually on the eyes, with both eyes together, it's a little bit more clear, but individually on the eyes, 2015, I think is an overstatement. I think I'm a little bit under, which in my case, I'm happy with. So that stuff at the post-op was looking good, and I got some questions answered there as well about how long I'll be using tears and such. My neighbor has decided to break out his motorbike, which he rides back and forth in the alleyway behind our house. Yep. That's cool. All right, so I asked some people to ask me questions, and I've got several here on my cellular phone. and we're just going to run through these. And the first of which was, how long does LASIK last? So the effects of LASIK, and this is from what I've heard from MDs, ODs, and my own research, is that the effects of LASIK are permanent, of course. The cells that they take off the cornea are gone, and that effect is permanent. So how long are the effects of LASIK? Technically permanent. However, the human eye, in a process called presbyopia, becomes increasingly farsighted. So as you get older, people can see further away, and you can't see up close. That's why you see a lot of elderly folk have to wear glasses with a reading prescription. So that's presbyopia. Motorcycle guy. Love it. Next question, did it hurt? And can you instantly see better? It did not hurt thanks to the numbing drops. Again, the most that I felt afterward was burning in my right eye, and that was pretty much it afterward. Can you instantly see better? In my case, no. It was pretty blurry for the first day and maybe day and a half, but after that and every week since, it's been noticeably better. I can read the print on my camera lens, which has been an improvement over even the last few weeks. I can read the calendar across the room, which is even better than the last few weeks. So it's been improving over time. But that first day for me was hard to see, and I'm seeing even better than 2020 right now. What does it feel like? There's no sensation since they numb the eye, and those numbing drops do a great job. But the most that I felt was definitely when Dr. Smith was moving the flap. I just felt like a little bit of pressure on the eye, and it's tiny, but it almost tickles. There's no real sensation, but a little bit of burning and itching after the procedure, which is definitely tolerable. Next question, did it hurt? No. Yeah, the numbing drops do a good job, and that's why they use numbing drops, right? Because they don't want it to hurt, and it was pretty comfortable overall. And the worst was that drive home when the drops wore off. So I took a Tylenol right when I got home, and then my right eye had been solid ever since. Next question, were you bothered by the smell of burning eye flesh? So this smell didn't bother me, but I have had a wound cauterized before, and I've been to the orthodontist for many, many years. So I know that smell of like the high-speed thing where they take the glue off your teeth and maybe get a little bit of your tooth, so it kind of makes that bony, fleshy smell. But no, that didn't bother me at all. What color was the laser? So I saw 4 lasers, if you want to call it that. They're fixation lights. And the first one was green, of course. And there's a video I'll link below that has a video of what that piece actually looks like if you want to see it. And then the ones that actually do the work, are the 2 red with a green in the middle. And of course the lasers that are cutting the eye, cutting the tissue, killing the tissue, are UV. Humans can't see UV light. How stressful was it? Is it hard to keep your eyes still? It was stressful for me before the Xanax. The Xanax did tremendous work. It did a huge job. It was awesome. So the Xanax really helps cut down on nerves. That's what it's designed to do. Someone got paid a lot of money to design a drug that helps you relax. So the Xanax did a great job in helping me relax. And it's not hard to keep staring forward because of the numbing drops that they give you, so you don't have a sensation to blink. 2, the first part where they cut the flap has suction, which actually prevents you from looking around, even if you wanted to. And 3, the laser that does the actual performance of the procedure at the end has computer tracking. So a perfect computer has your imperfect back at that case, which is totally awesome because, I was nervous to look away. And I'm sure that my eye did move slightly at points in that part where they were using the laser at the end to get my prescription. So it was good that they had a perfect computer algorithm to deal with me because I am the opposite of perfect. All right, so that's going to do it. That is my personal LASIK experience. And is it worth it? It's interesting, but every week ever since I've really just admired being able to see so great with my own eyes. It's been mind-blowing. I still find myself getting in the shower and like reaching for the side of my head and I don't have glasses on. Or before first thing in the morning I wake up and I'm like, I don't wear glasses anymore. It's awesome. So I've seen that, it's been worth it. In the first And the first week, if you asked me, I was still a nervous wreck. I don't know what my answer would have been, but as time goes, I am so grateful that I got this procedure done at the time in my life I did before I go off to school. And I'm reading a lot of books, and I need to read both close and far. It'll be an interesting thing to happen. So thank you so much for checking out this video. It means a lot to me that you came to see an excruciating detail video about LASIK and my personal experience with it. And again, yeah, nothing exciting to report. I think seeing great. The halos around lights have gotten so much better over the last even week. And just the longer that the healing goes on, for months and weeks to go, the better the vision will be. So in the process of editing this video, I realized I left out a few important things that I thought were worth mentioning. The first one is I've had a little bit of post-op dryness, not very much, just enough that I notice it. I'm still doing artificial tears as needed every day since my procedure, and I notice the dryness especially at the computer. That's when it's the worst. They warned me that the operating room was going to be pretty cold. I didn't notice that. What I ended up wearing was what you saw in the video, a t-shirt with a long sleeve shirt over top, and I was wearing pants, and that was comfortable for me. So the room wasn't that cold, but they did warn that it could be cold. Additionally, at the front desk right when I checked in, they handed me a little card that says this patient no longer needs corrective lenses, and apparently you can bring that to the DMV and get your driver's license changed to have no restrictions on it, since corrected vision is a restriction on the driver's license. I'm excited for that, and thank you so much for tuning in. Check out the links in the description below of some videos that I thought were fun and interesting about LASIK, and thanks for watching. Dang it, I messed up.